Welcome back to my sewing room. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my Scrappy baskets. Since I've recently started my new YouTube channel, and especially my Sew Your Stash series, I've had a lot of questions about these baskets. So I've pulled them out of my closet, and I'm going to show you how I add fabric to each basket. I try to keep all of the fabric strips within each basket organized by color. The size strips that I have in each basket are 7 inches, 5 inches, 3.5 inches, 2.5 inches, and 1.5 inches. I also have larger baskets where I keep larger cuts of fabric that are a fat quarter and above. And I keep these larger baskets on the shelf according to color as well. Now on my Scrappy strips basket, I always put a label of what size strips are inside the basket because when they're on the top shelf, I can't always see what's inside. These baskets that I have here came from Target. The larger basket came from Target as well. Okay, so here I've got a fat quarter and I've got a 1/2 yard of fabric and I think it's like 1.5 yards cut of fabric. And I just want to show you how I cut each one to go into my basket. When I see a piece of fabric that I really like, I usually purchase a 1/2 yard. Now because you can get 2 fat quarters out of a 1/2 yard, that's what I do. I first cut it into 2 fat quarters. I do cut up all of my leftover fabrics from projects and put them in my baskets. But of course, because I'm a quilter, I love fabric. And so I purposely buy fabric that I think will go nicely in my Scrappy stash baskets. That way I have a nice mix of favorite older prints and soon to be favorite new prints. Okay, so now that I have 2 fat quarters cut, I'll fold 1 fat quarter up, and because it's navy, I'll put it in my navy basket to go on my larger shelves. I use all the larger pieces from these baskets for things like pillow backs or the back of a placemat or, things like that. So then I cut the remaining fat quarter into strips. So first what I'm going to do is cut a 7-inch wide, and then I'll do a 5-inch, and then I'll do a 3.5 inch, and then see what I have left from there. I'll always have a 2.5 inch, but when I get to the very end, sometimes I'll only have 1.5 inch, or I can do another 2.5 inch strip, or something like that. It just really depends on how the quilt shop cut my 1/2 yard. Now because I have folded my fat quarter this way with the selvages at the top, that means my strips will be about 21 to 22 inches wide because that's how wide a fat quarter is. So let's do some quilty math. 7 plus 5 plus 3.5 plus 2.5 equal 18 inches. And it looks like that's exactly what I got out of this 1/2 yard, and the quilt shop that I bought it from cut me an exact 18 inches. And so like I said before, sometimes quilt shops are extra generous and I have enough that I can cut a 1.5 inch strip. Okay, so now that was quick and easy, and I've got 4 strips to add to my baskets according to size. So now I want to show you another way that I can cut a fat quarter if I want to ensure that I get at least 1.5 inch strip. I simply fold it the other way without the selvages on the top. I fold it this way with the selvage on the right or the left. That means my strip is 21 to 22 inches, so I can for sure get at least 1.5 inch strip. When you fold it this way, your strips are 18 inches long, but you get more strips. So it's really just depending on how you want to do it. So when I'm buying new fabric that I want to add to my stash, as soon as I get it in the mail or I come home from the quilt shop, then I immediately cut it up and put it in there so that it doesn't pile up. And of course, I want to be able to use it right away. Okay, so with this leftover here, I can either choose to do a 2.5 inch strip or 2 1.5, and I choose to do 2 1.5 because I'm going to be doing another project with 1.5 inch strips that I've been doing for a while that I want to show you on one of my videos. So I can go ahead and add my new 1.5 inch strips to my basket here. It's not as neat as the other ones because I've been pulling out of it, using it for that new project that I just mentioned. And we'll chat about that in another video. So when I have yardage, like say I've bought this for sashings or binding or something like that, I'll go ahead and cut everything out of it that I need for that quilt. And if I have a fat quarter or more left, then I'll just go ahead and put it in my big baskets according to color. But the little pieces that I have left over, I'll cut into those size squares, or I'll go ahead and cut it into those size strips. Most of the time, I have enough left over that I can add a little bit to each basket. As I'm sewing scrappy blocks for my baskets, I take from them, but at the same time, because I use up my leftovers by cutting them up, and I purchase new fabrics, then I'm also adding to them constantly. So it's kind of like I have this nice little system of recycling quilty fabric, and I'm never out of super cute fabrics to use. So when I finish cutting up my leftovers or my new purchases, I go ahead and put my baskets back in my closet. You see my Scrappy strips baskets right here on the top shelf. My 1.5 one is over there on the left, and then I stack the other ones on top of each other. I have 2 of each size, and I use that vintage garden claw to get them down because I'm short and I can't reach it. Then you can see below I have larger baskets with the larger cuts of fabric and arranged according to color. It's so convenient to have all of these fabrics in one closet where they're easy to get to. They're not in a plastic bin under my bed or somewhere in a bag in leftovers where I don't know what happened to it and I'll never use it again because I can't find it. That used to be my old system, but now I've changed my ways into my new Scrappy Happy system.